While University was forced to shut down after the storms 2 weeks ago, the community got together and helped them get back on their feet. Find out how later in the show.
Gas prices are rising. We'll tell you how to save at the pump.
The end of the semester can be difficult for Elon students. I'll show you how to stay stress-free at a stressful time.
I'm Sophie Nielsen-Colding.
And I'm David Hodges. You're watching Phoenix 14 News tonight.
We're starting tonight with continuing coverage. Last night we told you about President Obama's announcement that Osama bin Laden is dead. Good evening and thanks for joining us. We'll have two student interviews, one who participated in last night's rallies and another who chose to sit out. But first we'll go to David Hodges, who found out what this all means for the future. David?
Sophie, it's been almost a day since the news of Osama bin Laden's death reached us. The post-bin Laden era has started, and whether that's immediate or not, things will change. We went to a professor in the political science department to find out just how much. The death of the FBI's most wanted man gives closure to some Elon students, like Andrew Zakoff, who grew up in New York.
I could see the Twin Towers from my backyard, so kind of sucks, but he's dead now.
But with the United States' main target down, the war against terrorism is not yet over. Professor Rudy Zarzar says that though Al-Qaeda's leader is gone, followers remain.
It's true we got rid of the head of the snake, so to speak, but still you have these little cobras.
There's different sects of Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, Yemen, and Pakistan, where bin Laden was killed, all of them capable of continuing operations without their leader's support, according to Zarzar.
We should also be careful not to be too euphoric about this, because something happens in 2 weeks, right? We're back to square one.
Even though pursuit of bin Laden is over, Professor Zarzar predicts the fight against terrorism will continue.
Are we in the last chapter? Are we going to wind down the war on terrorism? I would say we're in the middle.
While the threat level in Israel has been raised because of bin Laden's death, Security Secretary Janet Napolitano has not raised threat levels in the United States. Osama bin Laden's death did raise flags in the financial world, though. The stock market opened higher this morning than it has in recent weeks, and oil prices dropped late last night. Finance professor Gary Tesarsis told us why there was unrest in the financial market this morning.
I think that they'll dip temporarily because from a psychological perspective, this is quite a positive thing that occurred last night. But I do think that the trend line for oil is still back on the upside.
Tesarsis added that the stock market was affected this morning because it is sensitive to uncertainty. Students on campus celebrated last night's news. They paraded around campus and chanted USA. Here's a look at what happened at Elon last night.
Well, I was actually on top of this truck right behind me, just waving the flag around while we were singing Don't Stop Believing. I've never seen anything like this at Elon so far. It's like one of the at least top 5 moments of my college career so far. There was a lot of things getting lit on fire, and more people started showing up, and then we paraded through campus.
Right here we have the discarded remains of Osama bin Laden. This is earlier today. What's up, fire? USA!
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody still remembers what we started this party about, but it's great. It's the biggest party I've seen at Elon since I've been here. USA! USA!
Elizabeth Floyd was a part of last night's rally. She joins us in the studio today. Elizabeth, thank you for being here. Tell me, what was it like last night on campus?
It was absolutely crazy. It was so energetic and such a surge of patriotism. There was fireworks, dancing on cars, chanting. It was just amazing.
And tell me, what made you decide to go outside of your dorm that late at night and chant and ride around in your car?
Well, it wasn't that we were going out to celebrate having Osama been killed, but it was more of just, we all just felt this enormous sense of relief from a burden we didn't even know we had until it was gone. And you just had to do something. You just had to get up and go run around, and it was fun.
So tell me, what does this mean to you, and what, if you say you weren't celebrating, what were you acknowledging?
It was more of an acknowledgement of kind of loose ends being tied up. And I know that it's not like saying that it's going to change a whole lot for the political future as is, but it was just an enormous sense of relief.
And do you think it got a little bit out of control? How do you think the celebrations went?
I think that while it was crazy, it was pretty well in control. Even the police were kind of joining in and having some fun with us. So.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here. Back to you, David.
Thanks, Sophie. We're joined here by Phoenix 14's own Nick Oxner, and Nick has a much more personal connection to the war than most. Nick, can you tell us about your dad?
Yeah, that's right, David. You know, yesterday's news really hit me hard. My dad was killed by a roadside bomb in Afghanistan while serving as a member of the Special Forces in November of 2005. So yesterday's announcement really meant a lot to me.
Yeah, there's been a lot lost, not only from the terrorist activities, but also the wars raging on in Afghanistan. Is there any sense of justice for you because of this? Hearing this news, is it any kind of relief or comfort?
You know, I wouldn't say justice, but I would say this. Throughout the past 5 years, almost 6 years that Dad has been killed, or since Dad has been killed, folks have said, you know, has it been worth it? We can't even find Osama bin Laden. We're failing in Afghanistan. And it really, when people tell me that, it's like you're saying your father died for nothing. He died in vain. And so, if nothing else, the news that came last night from President Obama really vindicated my father's sacrifice, really made it more meaningful, not just to me, but I think to the rest of the world.
Well, all Americans are proud of your father's sacrifice and other soldiers out there. Now we'll toss it back to Sophie, who has a student who wasn't too appreciative of last night's festivities.
Natalie Kuzmenko wasn't happy with some of the celebrations that went on campus last night. She's also here in the studio with us. Tell me a little bit about your reaction when you first heard the news.
When I first heard the news, I was shocked and very happy that finally, after America's longest war in U.S. history, we killed the #1 terrorist that we wanted to, and after lots of money spent and people dying, that, you know, it finally paid off. But in the end, I kind of thought about it, and it really didn't change much because we're still in Iraq and Afghanistan. It doesn't change anything.
Well, some students chose to rally around campus last night. Some people were pretty happy. Some people were even celebrating. What did you think about what was going on last night here on our campus?
I thought it was just kind of like students feeding into just what the media says, like, oh my gosh, you know, bin Laden's dead, but they don't really realize like the actual impacts that this has, like on the war on terror. Like it doesn't really change much. Like I said, money's still being spent, people are still dying.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here. Back to you, David.
Thanks, Sophie. Shaw is working on rebuilding after being hit by a tornado just 2 weeks ago. Jason Puckett followed some Elon students to Shaw on Saturday as they helped rebuild.
Downed trees, broken buildings, and piles of debris litter the campus of Shaw University. It's 2 weeks since the storm, and the college community is coming together to help.
I heard about the opportunity to come out here and help, and so I think I got up a little bit earlier than I normally would, which didn't bother me because I knew I was going to get up for a good cause.
Sophomore Ben Poole was just one of many volunteers who gave up their Saturday morning to help Shaw University get back on its feet.
I'm out here today because I heard about the tornado that came through here, and I knew that Shaw had to cancel their classes for the rest of the semester, and I thought it was a really sad thing.
More than 400 students from Carolina colleges such as Elon, NC State, and Chapel Hill are volunteering to help the university get up and running again.
All these people who are coming just to help out at school, it really shows that the community is together and that we love each other, and whenever something goes wrong, you can always count on the community to come and help out.
Courtney Scott is the Miss Shaw University-elect this year. She helped coordinate the cleanups and feels that Shaw will be a better school than it was before the storm.
Because of this storm, even though it was a disaster, it's kind of a blessing in disguise because people know what Shaw University is and what we're here for in the community and how we help other people.
While Shaw may have been closed for the remainder of this year, the students seem to believe that Shaw's spirit has only gotten stronger.
There's a lot of Shaw pride now. I know we had pride before, but it's totally different now. I have to say it's increased.
Capital City Bulls!
Jason Puckett, Phoenix 14 News.
Shaw's goal is to have the university cleaned up for senior week and graduation later this month. The university plans to have a normal semester in the fall.
'Tis the season for profit sharing. With the end of the year approaching fast, organizations are pushing to raise money before time runs out. But not all students are happy about the recent increase in profit shares. Phoenix 14's Joe Bruno found out how Facebook could be limiting the number of people who go.
Good love apples.
YoZone manager Jim Wood hosts profit shares regularly.
It's anywhere from 3 to 5 a week.
But YoZone is not the only business who loves profit shares. Mellow Mushroom manager Mike Fox says that Elon students are the reason he loves hosting them.
I mean, they are well behaved, not obnoxious at all. Most of the folks that I've dealt with from the different organizations have been very professional, and we enjoy having them in.
Businesses like Mellow Mushroom and YoZone love profit shares because they help stimulate their business while donating to a cause. However, not all students feel the same way as businesses do. In fact, some students are upset by getting so many event notifications on Facebook.
I'm not going to be going to them. I know that. They probably know that. I don't even know why I get them sometimes, but...
Freshman Jimmy Smith says he is more likely to click attending to certain organizations over others.
I mean, it's just, there's some things I just don't care about.
But Wood is happy to support any organization.
We really enjoy giving that opportunity to give back money to various groups in the community.
Joe Bruno, Phoenix 14 News Tonight.
If you're interested in attending a profit share, Alpha Omicron Pi Sorority is hosting an event at Red Bull tomorrow evening from 5 to 9. All proceeds will benefit juvenile diabetes efforts.
It's that time of year again where all-nighters become the norm and Belk Library becomes a second home to some. With exams right around the corner, our Jeff Ackerman took a look at how students can minimize the stress.
Meditate, breathe, experience the present.
Steve Whitener is the president of Iron Tree Blooming, Elon's meditation club. He says meditation is a great distressor and helps calm people down.
It makes your problem seem a little bit less. Like by focusing on the now, you're not really focusing on like the future or the past. You're just like experiencing everything.
These relaxation techniques could help Elon's students, especially near the end of the semester. Health and Human Performance professor Dr. Amy Stringer says stress is anything that can change a person's normal functioning.
In general, if you have too much negative stress in your life, or just a higher stress level overall, it can affect your cardiovascular system, it can affect your gastrointestinal system, it can have effects on mental health like depression.
Stringer says that too much stress can sometimes lead to reoccurring sickness.
You're less able to fight off any sort of disease, virus, rash, any of those types of things, and so you're more likely to get sick.
There are several things you can do to lose stress. You can do some yoga, you can read one of your favorite books, you can even go for a run.
And the list doesn't end there. It's important to find an activity that helps take your mind off the work in your life. Stringer says it's important for people to evaluate how they deal with stress and to avoid negative solutions.
Like, you don't want to go binge drinking, taking drugs, even doing anything in excess.
And for Steve, putting aside some time for himself keeps him calm throughout the week.
It chills me out a little bit, makes me a lot more relaxed.
Jeff Ackerman, Phoenix 14 News Tonight.
If you're interested in becoming involved with Iron Tree Blooming, the group meets in Belk Pavilion at 4:15 every Thursday.
It's the end of the semester, which means it's time for the spring show. Neon Trees, Wale, and Super Mash Bros are performing this year. The show is Friday at 7 p.m. in Alumni Gym. Tickets are $20 for students if you buy them before Friday. On Friday, the tickets jump to $27, and it's $25 for the public. You can buy your tickets at org.elon.edu/sub.
Coming up on Phoenix 14 News.
The dog began to help me feel better.
Find out how this dog helped him feel better and what Elon students are doing to help.
With gas prices spiking, can you afford to drive home for the summer? I'm Nicole Chadwick with the story coming up.
Baseball coach Mike Kennedy talks about his most recent accomplishment. Find out what it was and what it means to him later in sports.